Yeah, so a lot of times when we're just starting out, here we're talking about digital or even on ground, design or color theory courses, that are either digital or even not digital. We're limited in using black and white. And let me just show you, for example, this was a course where we were expressing a concept abstractly, which is one of the purposes, to get people to understand that they can express a concept abstractly without using representation, right? So here we have, these are different concepts that were given to the students, and this is just black and white. This is just black construction paper cut into strips on white. And so this might have been congestion. Again, this was a while back. This might have been movement. This was depression. I don't know, on this one, playfulness or isolation maybe. You can see that just with black and white, you can get an idea across. And also, just limiting yourself to black and white, it's really good for looking at and exploring and understanding positive and negative space. Laying down a still life and just putting in black the negative space, leaves, different kinds of things. Then the next step, which is what we're talking about now, is when we get into adding value, shading that we're all familiar with, representational form, shading the background, going from those abstract black and white, simple geometric kinds of forms that describe a concept into shapes that have value. And that's what we're going to be talking about here, right? So I have another example here as well. Let's see here. For example, just to give you an idea of where we're going with this, so far we've been working with just black and white. And you can see here just a very simple kind of, composition with a lot of movement, and, can't really see exactly what it is as a scene, but we can see the negative space and the positive forms, right? If you take that away, if you start adding value, then you get that aha moment, that's being able to add gray to describe volume and to describe space is extremely powerful, right? The next step, of course, then is to add color, right? So how do we do this? And this is what I want to help you out with. I'm using Photoshop. But if we have gone from just using black forms on a white background and then, superimposing white forms, first thing we need to do is understand how to create shades of gray. I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to be showing you raster shapes and vector shapes. I'm going to hold down my shift key with this little circle selection marquee here. And I'm going to fill that, okay? I'm going to click on that little icon down there that has the paint chip. I'm going to call it paint chip. And Option Delete is going to fill that with black, okay? Now, I want to copy that. I'm going to hit the V on my keyboard. And I'm going to hold down my Option key. You can see that copy, that little white arrowhead. I'm going to copy that over. And actually, I lied. I'm going to copy and paste this the first time so I can get it into a new layer. I'm going to move that over slightly. And watch. I'm going to do Control U, command I use all the time for these raster shapes. Okay. Now watch. I'm going to adjust the lightness just a little bit. And if I want it to be incremental, okay, I'm going to show you a little trick here. I'm going to increase it by 15, right? Actually, let me increase that by 25 so we can really see the difference. So you see that gray form on top of that black form? Already we're starting to get volume. I can also decrease the size of that with Control T, and I can have a nice little gray circle instead of a black circle. And let me repeat that. This time I'm going to hit the V in my Option key, and I'm going to move it over. It's going to automatically put it into a new layer. I'm going to hit Command or Control U or Apple U, and I'm going to bring that lightness up again, 25. I can do it manually with the slider, but I'm trying to be kind of exact here. Control T, holding down my Shift key, hit Return. This is a really good exercise. Like a boot camp, okay? This is like going to the gym and working out and just working out a tricep or a bicep or, whatever, your abs. And to be able to do this, okay, and I'm just going to repeat these commands. I should have probably done my Control or my Apple U, right? If you are on a PC, it's going to be your Command key, try getting a series of circles, concentric circles, okay? And we can keep going and going and going and going and going and going, but you get the idea, right? And we also know at this point how to shift click through, right click, link those layers so that we can move this around, right? Let me actually copy this over, okay? And I am then going to click off, and I want to, in this case, I want to expand these out. Let's see what I can do here that's kind of playful. And I want to create maybe the sense of more of a cone, okay? So what I want people to play around with here is a range of values, okay? From light gray to mid gray to charcoal gray to black. And try to get, you know, work on your precision. Try to get concentric circles. Try to get, make a cone shape. All right, let me just show you quickly vector shapes now. I'm gonna shift click through here and I'm gonna reduce these down. I'm gonna have them as little placeholders here. Let me shift click through here. These are already linked. So I'm gonna move this over, right? Do not forget that we have the background. Okay, now I'm going to show you another little trick. I am not a big fan of the gradient tool because it's too easy to abuse it, but I'm going to use it here. If you click on your gradient tool and you look up and you can adjust the, oh, here's the gradient tool. You can adjust the parameters up here. But let me just volumetricize or make the negative or the background volumetric. Okay. We can also, what I want you to play around with is subdividing the negative space, so you have maybe a dark foreground or a lighter foreground and a darker background. Okay, so subdivision of the negative space, making forms volumetric either through gradients or through a range of values that recede or come forward. And then I'm going to show you now how to create some forms with the vector, if you prefer the vector. You'll notice that I don't have any whites here. One thing I do want you to play with is making sure you have a range of values, okay? One of the things that I was taught was that one of the things that contribute to failure in a composition, one of the leading causes is failure to incorporate a full range of values, all right? So you can see here light to dark, diminishing off. I can even make that so it almost recedes into the background. Look at that, it's just coming forward. Now, I don't really want that background. Now remember, you can duplicate layers if I want to keep that background, and let's say I decide I want to do another one. And if you hold down your shift key, your gradient will be in a perfectly straight line. All right, last but not least then, since we are talking about grays and volume and form and space and depth this week. I want to use the vector shape and I am going to let me create a circle for you. Now your foreground color is the color that circle is going to be. Hold down my shift key, there's my vector shape. I'm going to put it on top, okay? Now you can see it looks differently. We've talked a little bit about the difference between raster shapes that are just filled with pixels, and if you size them up, they get blurry, versus this is basically a cutout of a mask, and you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want without any kind of distortion. Okay? Now, I am going to use my move tool and copy that over, my move, my option combo. How do I change the color here? If I do Control U, it doesn't work, because Control U, hue saturation, only works on the raster shapes. Okay? So vector shapes. I am going to double click on that and bring up my color picker. And here, remember, I'm not going into color yet. Okay, just stick over to the left on the grays. And here I'm going to go and I'm going to march up and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, what's the advantage, you might say, of vector over raster? Vector, you do not have to worry about resizing this thing up and having it get distorted. Okay? So again, do your workout. Learn how to make precise kinds of forms and steps, okay, just as an exercise. Maybe you're a photographer, maybe you're an animator, maybe you'll never do this again, but since we're here, we might as well learn, you know, go through the motion, go through the kind of training so we can get as, build up our digital chops there, okay? So again, I can shift click through, I can link these, I can convert to a smart object, right? And I can move them around, and here I can, you know, I can play with this in a composition. Now remember, the other thing we want to talk about is depth. We've been talking about form and volume and value, a range of values, right? We want to talk about space, okay? So how do you create space? Through overlapping. So look, if I just had, like what I had there before, if I just have these things floating around like this, it's pretty flat, right? But what happens as soon as I overlap? Okay, what happens as soon as I change scale? This is right in my face, okay? This is 10 feet away. This is 18 feet away, okay? This little guy, maybe I should break this guy up. I don't know. He's, let me shift click through and get them all selected. He's way in the background, right? So as I'm overlapping, okay, and also maybe making things, let's see, which was my smart object? Not that one. Was it this one? Okay, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to show you one last trick. What's another way to create depth? Think of the Mona Lisa. Atmospheric perspective. Okay. Now, I can hit the numbers. Okay, this is a smart object, so it's all grouped. All right. I can hit 1 for 10%, 2 for 20, 3 for 30, 4 for 40, 5 for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So if I want this thing to really look like it's going back into space, okay, I can change the opacity. So here you can see, let me just sum up. Subdivision of your negative space, change up in scale, overlapping, opacities, changes of value, a full range from dark to light, and then we can start talking about kind of an academic you know, approach to discussing depth and volume, you know, using abstract shapes. Montaging photographs can be in another video.